Okay, we are coming to you today to share our tips around how to support your liver through the spring. So, Megan's going to give us a little intro about why this time of year correlates to the liver. Like, why are we thinking about the liver and supporting this specific organ around this time or whenever you're listening to it. And then we're going to give you just some super tangible steps to work with so that you can kind of harness the energy of this time to work with one of the most important organs in the body that doesn't always get as much attention as things like the gut or like hormones or things, but the liver is just like so key and critical. So we're going to give you those steps today so you can have that in your toolkit. So, um, Megan, in terms
Yeah.
of like, actually, maybe we'll just start with like, what are some signs that for people, and I can share some too, that your liver needs some support in the first place? Like, if we've never paid attention to our liver, how would we even know?
Yeah. I mean, when I think of liver stagnation or the liver needing a bit of love, one of the first things I'll look for is anger in somebody, like people who are coming in just feeling aggravated and irritated and very mad. You can even sometimes see inflammation, so when I come on a Zoom call with a client, like sometimes I can see like redness and
Mhm.
just like flushing happening throughout the body. um Acne is another one, if there's
Yes.
acne happening anywhere in the system. A sluggishness, like one that is one way where I think a lot of times when we're thinking about feeling sluggish, we're thinking more adrenal, like, oh, I'm tired or my adrenals are taxed. But sometimes there's the channels just aren't flowing as optimally in the liver, and we need to open up those detox pathways a little bit more. I would also, I just also want to say, like, just in case nobody knows, where somebody who's watching this doesn't know where their liver is, your liver is right underneath your right rib cage. So I'll see if I can tip my screen. You can see my cat, but like right under here is my rib cage. And this is where your liver tends to hang out. And you can kind of press around and press in and say hi to it. And if you press, with some um I don't want to say force necessarily, but with some like intention, and you're feeling pain in there, that's
Mhm.
also a nice way to kind of check in to
Yeah.
see if your body's talking to you in that way. And, I also think it's really important that I think a lot of folks, when they hear liver, they forget that our liver is working for us every day, 24/7. So just because we may need to give some extra liver love, it doesn't mean your liver isn't actually working. Like our
Right.
livers are detoxing and doing its thing all day, every day. So sometimes I'm sure you've had clients come in where they're like, I know my liver needs support, but they feel like their liver's broken or something. And the liver isn't broken. It's doing its job, but just sometimes it needs a little bit of a crutch and some extra support, especially this time of year come spring, because, and we're currently in spring here in the Pacific Northwest and on the Northern Hemisphere. We've just come out of a lot of winter, a lot of rain, a lot of inside, a lot of kind of heavier foods, a lot of more root-based vegetables. And the body just kind of tends to slow down in the fall and winter months. And once it's spring, then things start to kind of amplify and move up a little bit more. And that is where we want to clear out some of those channels. So that's why spring is generally associated with the liver time of year.
Yeah, amazing. And I think like what you were saying too, for people, there's like a difference between having a liver pathology, like a liver disease or anything like that, which can be, fatty liver, which is super common, or maybe your liver enzymes are really elevated or, things like that, versus all of us who have a liver can use these different times in the year and different cycles, and also just the different cues from our body just to support the liver to do the job that it's already doing for you. But I'm just seeing this more and more with people too, that we are so overloaded in so many senses of that word, by even just the things we're breathing in, or the just things we're consuming. Like, we just can become overloaded. And so taking these moments to, in transition, to pause and think, okay, what can I do to support this organ that does so much for me? Are there a few little mindful things I can do to put in to just make its job easier or make it work more effectively? So all of those symptoms that you said are totally, I see that with everybody too. And it can also, I also sometimes see like brain fog, like a fogginess too, or like that heaviness, or like lethargy, or sluggishness, like you said also. And even sometimes like skin changes, or like dark circles under the eyes too. Like that, that could be a thing. So hopefully we're given some clues for people to just do a little assessment of their body right now and see. Are there any clues?
That wake up time between 2 and 4 at night. If you're
Yeah.
waking up between 2 and 4 a.m., that's also, we call that liver time. So that can also be one more way to check in. Like, these are all just ways to check in. Again, it's not a pathologizing. It's more just like checking in with these few things that we've mentioned. Like, am I seeing the dark circles? What is happening with my skin? And am I noticing skin changes? Am I noticing pain in my liver? Am I waking up between 2 and 4? Our bodies appreciate those little moments of just like tending and attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually just was talking to a client today about the wake up, and it's in her liver. And so we just were able to put in a few specific supplements and things for her to help with that. Cause it's so true. And it's such a good clue to figure that out too. I also want to say too, that like our gallbladder is can be a part of this picture as well, because they're so related. So if you are, having like pain, or there's other symptoms and things you're having, just, reach out to us. Like, we can help work with you one-on-one to understand a little bit more about what you're experiencing, and how maybe like the gallbladder is involved as well. But
and for those who don't have a gallbladder too.
Yes. Yes. So in terms of ways to support the liver in the spring and to kind of harness this time, we think about it in terms of body, mind, spirit. A lot of times there's very physiological bodily things that we can do to support the functioning of these organs. But then also there's, emotional, mind, and spirit aspects to this as well, when we're working to understand things like anger or stagnation, or, all of those different practices of releasing too. So we want to just share kind of this whole holistic view for you, because I find if there's one, if we tackle just the physiology, we can kind of miss out on some of the other pieces too that can be really helpful. So the first one, in terms of how we support our body, liver through spring, working with liver herbs and foods can be a really nice entry point into that. So Megan, what are some of you're the queen of herbs. What are some of your favorites?
I really love, I always go when working with supporting the liver. I always like to start first culinary, because especially with, there's plenty of medicinal herbs that are amazing for liver support, but we're all under such overwhelm. Sometimes it's really nice to be just told like, oh, eat these culinary spices and fresh herbs, and that can offer just as much support as like a liver tox formula. So I love the two that I work with all the time are cilantro and parsley. Ideally, both of them. If you are somebody who has that snip in your system where cilantro tastes like soap, parsley is great, but honestly, cilantro is one of the best binders that, we eat the cilantro, sprinkle it on top of foods. This time of year, I'm sprinkling it over salads, pretty much everything. It binds to heavy metals in our system and helps to extract them and release them. So I really love doing cilantro and parsley. Nettle is another great one. It's the first herb that pops up. If you've been to any of our recent workshops, you've heard me talk about nettle in both of them. It's the first spring herb that kind of presents itself. And that's a very powerful channel mover, clear. Milk thistle, if you're wanting to do something a little bit um, with a little bit more punch and you want to do a tincture or a standardized extract, working with milk thistle is a really, milk thistle seed specifically is a really beautiful way to support your liver. And then my favorite foods are artichoke, sunchoke, beets and their greens, any bitter green, so arugula, endive, radicchio, like lots of salads. And this is another place too for salad dressings where you can get a lot of those good culinary herbs in, because you can just make a dressing that has cilantro and like tahini and lemon rind is another really good one for liver. Those are kind of my favorites. There's so many more, but I kind of like to go narrow and deep with a few and just make sure to get them in daily or weekly. And that helps me feel a bit more successful. What about you?
Yeah, I've been working with those kind of the same ones. And I think for me, it's like my body craves more, just more veggies and a little less meat or protein. Like I usually eat animal protein as part of my diet, and that feels good for me. But sometimes if I'm consciously working to just give my liver a little bit of a break or a little bit of a change, I'll just gravitate towards getting in way more veggies. And I just kind of have to like shift my mindset a little bit of that. So I'll just, yeah, bring in more of the herbs. And I've just been making like a big salad with arugula, and then I'll just put in a bunch of different, whatever herbs I have in there, and like sprinkle some, seeds on it, some tahini dressing, and, stuff like that. So for me, it's just like, it's a little bit of shifting of like, what is my body craving right now? It doesn't want as heavy of things as it did in the winter. And I notice a difference for me in my liver. Like I will notice a difference in my skin. I will notice a difference in digestion and things like that. So that can be a way to kind of frame it too and get those in. And the other piece of it too is there's definitely, liver, like there's definitely supplements too that we can work with and recommend, different antioxidants, nutrients to support the liver. Like you mentioned, things like milk thistle, there's more. Those are going to be pretty individual for people based on what they're needing, and your history and things like that. If you are working with a pretty sluggish, stagnant liver, you might need a little more than that. So if that is you and you're looking for more support, we're super happy to help you in one-on-one coaching. That's, what we do in the nutrition counseling. So you can schedule a free consult with us. You can email us at hello@slowmedicine.com, slowmedicinecollective.com, and we can help you go even further into that. So we just want to kind of lay out, sometimes you will need to go deeper in those areas, especially if you're dealing with a lot of symptoms around liver stagnation. Okay, so then mind and spirit. With this one, we're kind of clumping them together because like one big word that I heard you say earlier around it is release.
Yeah.
That's a big word. So tell me more about release as it pertains to liver and how we can work with that.
I just feel like when it comes to supporting the liver, supporting the body through this time of year, we need a lot of release. And what that looks like is different for everybody. It can be crying, it can be sweating, it can be anger, and like going out into the forest and screaming as loud as you can, or doing it into a pillow. That is not, I haven't done enough therapy to get there yet, but I will someday. It can be really wild and tantric, like incredibly amazing sex where you're just like experiencing that release. It can be writing and really moving words through your system if anything is feeling stuck. It can be running. I mean, there's so many, everyone's way of release is different. And this is actually in one-on-one work. That's one of my favorite things to help people define and find, is what is their unique way to release, and how do we build a relationship with it, and how do we bring that in and get to befriend it in a different way, but it's so important, because if we have that built up, pent up anything that's in our system, it's not releasing, it's staying within us. And that, like, emotion, thoughts, you name it, that staying in the system is just as toxic as your chocolate that you're hearing about. It's just as toxic as, breathing in emissions from cars. Like, nobody talks about that. And I don't know that we think about it enough, but we've got to move that stuff through our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it doesn't have, like in my experience with it, doesn't have to be these like big, huge things. Like I just did a gentle yoga class with some breathing where we did like alternate nostril breathing where you're kind of clearing things out, and it was simple. And I felt a movement in my body that wasn't there before. Like I felt a shift that wasn't there before. Like I was feeling just stuck and holding on to things, and I didn't even really realize it. And then bringing in just some gentle breathing, a little bit of flow, a little bit of movement like that for me was enough for me to feel a totally noticeable and tangible difference in my body. So I just want to say that to people too, because sometimes we think like, oh no, it's one more thing I have to do or this or that. But like, it can actually just be so simple. Sometimes I'll just do shaking. Like shaking is huge. And it just, even just like moving a little bit of energy, or even just like using your voice to move energy or speak something or sing a song or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be this big thing. And it can just start to like be that release valve, and then just like shift the experience that you're having in your body.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Amazing. So hopefully that is helpful for everyone to work with those ways. We've seen them be really, really helpful in this season for clients right now. So let us know if you have any questions. Just reply to our email that we're going to send you, or leave us a comment. And then if you do want some more individual support and you want to go deeper on some of these aspects, we are taking a few new one-on-one clients for spring and summer. So just again, you can head to our website, slowmedicinecollective.com, and learn more about how you can work with us, and just reach out and we can figure out what's best for you to support you through the season.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.